Hopefully it'll be okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to The Goddess Inside. I am Osset, and I am here with my special guest, Curtis Ryan Woodside, to talk with you about ancient Egyptian symbology and magic. Hi, Curtis.
Hi, Osset. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It's so good to see you again.
You too, you too. I'm happy to be sharing some history and mystery with you.
I love it. It's so fun. It's so fun. So we're going to start out today with a little bit of the mystery. And what we're going to talk about is something that's found within a scroll. It's the Bremner Rind Papyrus Scroll. And within this document, we find a spell, a series of spells, and it's actually an entire ritual of overcoming Apep. So Apep is the serpent of chaos who every night he tries to attack Ra in the boat of 1,000,000 years as he travels through the night sky. And there are various Neteru who are at the helm of the boat to protect Ra, one of whom is Set. And I think sometimes Horus is there, sometimes Sekhmet is talked about as being there, protecting the sun god Ra from this chaotic serpent. And so when we read in the papyrus itself, it talks about, it's kind of violent, some of the things that they describe, the spitting on things and setting things on fire and these sorts of things.
But they need to, you know, keep Apep at bay, because if Apep defeats Ra, there will be constant darkness.
I know. So it is something that has to be a little bit forceful to make a statement.
So while you read that, I have an excellent image of the overcoming of Apep from the tomb of Ramses I. So while you read that, shall I share my screen and everyone can see it?
Yes, let's do.
Okay, let's go.
So while Curtis is getting that ready, oh, amazing.
There we go.
So where is this from again, Curtis?
So this is from the tomb of Ramses I, the father of Seti I, grandfather of Ramses II. And here you can see this huge snake, Apophis, Apep, depending on how you want to call him, being overcome by Ramses I in the guise of the god Atum.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So while you're all looking at that image, we're going to share what is actually in this ancient Bremner Rind Papyrus Scroll. And it says, the spell of trampling Apep with the left foot. And it says, recite, raise thee up, O Ra, and crush thy foes. Shine thou out, O Ra, for thy foes are fallen. Behold, Pharaoh crushes all thy foes for thee, O Ra, crush thou all his foes, dead or alive. And then later, as you're working through this ritual of overcoming Apep within the temples, it says, after this, at the 6th hour of the day, thou shalt place Apep on the fire, spitting on him and trampling on him with thy left foot and driving off the roarer Nechaher. So here we see, as Curtis is showing, the serpent Apep and needing to be overcome and speared. And so we talk about stamping on him and overcoming him and that sort of thing. So Apep is chaos. And then also the enemies of anything that is chaotic or disrupts the order of things is an enemy of Ma'at. And so the Pharaoh was very responsible for keeping Ma'at throughout the land. And so Curtis is going to show us some of the things that we can see symbolically throughout the temples where the Pharaoh is doing exactly that.
Okay. So what I want to start right at the very beginning. So we're going back almost 5,000 years in history to Pharaoh Narmer. He's the Pharaoh that united Upper and Lower Egypt. And this is from the Narmer palette, which is commemorating the unification of Egypt when he won his battle. And what we can see is the Pharaoh with his one arm raised, holding the enemy up by the hair, and he's smiting them, basically bashing their brains out with his mace. And this is a scene that has been repeated by almost every pharaoh, not just to show strength, but to also show that Egypt is powerful over their enemies. So from Narmer, which is 5,000 years ago about, we continue, we go to now about 3,400 years ago, which is Ramses II. And here we see Ramses II on the left, holding up a whole array of enemies with his one hand raised, this time holding a sword, and he is going to basically kill his enemies. On the right-hand side, we see Ramses again, this time holding up the enemy by the arm. So Ramses was a big fan of portraying himself like this, but it was also a message to the people of Egypt. Look how powerful the Pharaoh is. This is why your country is so great. Here we see him again, Ramses II, holding up a man from Libya, or an Amaru. And we can see Nefertari on the left-hand side with the one arm raised. This is a very symbolic thing, holding the one arm up. Also symbolizing back to, like Osset was reading about Apep, one leg forward, one arm up. It's a very strong pose. And you'll notice above Ramses, there is Nekbet. In another video, Osset is going to talk to us about Nekbet, the vulture goddess.
Yes.
Now, the pharaohs did not only portray themselves on temple walls and in tombs holding up enemies, but also on statues. Now, sometimes the enemies were not actually shown. They were known as the 9 bows. So they would depict 9 different bows, and that would be symbolic of the enemies, the 9 different enemies of Egypt. And on this statue of Ramses II, we can see him standing, well, sitting on his throne with his feet on the footrest, and on the footrest are 9 bows. So he's constantly trampling the enemies, keeping that momentum going in the minds of the Egyptians. Look how powerful I am. Also, Tutankhamun went even further. He had on his sandals, very beautiful pair of sandals, he had 4 different enemies of Egypt shown with their hands bound. So here we can see an Assyrian on the left and a Nubian on the right, and they are being bound. And then on the top and at the bottom are 4 and 5 bows, making the 9 bows. And this was symbolic to show that Tut, with every footstep that he took, he was stepping over the enemies. So it's not only a symbolic thing of how powerful the Pharaoh is, how powerful Egypt is, but look at me. It's a mental thing. It prepares you for moving forward to know, wow, I'm that powerful, and it really gets you riled up.
Right.
Ramses III also showed himself now trampling over the enemies. And remember, Apophis, Apep, is also the enemy of Ra. So here we can see Ramses III, one leg forward, very clearly, holding a spear, holding up the enemy, and killing them with the spear. So that's a very symbolic. This was on the outside of Medinet Habu. Now, this is a message for the public. That is why it's on the outside, because not everybody was allowed inside the temples. Only the priests and important people were allowed inside. So on the outside, it's really showing the strength. Not only did the pharaohs want to show themselves defeating enemies, but they wanted to show themselves as strong leaders. So here we see Ramses III at Medinet Habu on the outside in a hunting scene, hunting some cattle, and it's in the Nile Delta, as you can see with the reeds. Again, one leg forward. On the outside of Luxor Temple, which it's not that clear, but we can actually see if I go in, we can see Ramses II defeating his enemies. So this is on the outside, again, to show the temple is the house of the gods. So on the outside, the pharaohs would show themselves defeating the enemies as a message to the public to know that on the inside is the God who made this possible. So it's very symbolic. Not only on the outside did we see Pharaoh smiting enemies, but sometimes, like here at Medinet Habu for Ramses III, we can actually see Ramses III here, one arm up, with his sword, defeating the enemies. And he's now doing this in front of the god Amun. So it's symbolically showing that this is possible because of the god and because Egypt is so strong. So it's showing that connection. On the right, we can see Ra with Ramses III, and the same scene is happening again. And this was on the outside of the temple because it was not possible for just anybody to go inside the temple. In the inner sanctuary of the temple is where the god was housed, in a similar boat to this. This is from Edfu Temple, and this is for the god Horus. So he would be inside that little wooden container. And what's interesting is not only on tombs, not only on temples do we see this scene happening, not only on statues do we see this scene happening, we see scenes of the pharaoh showing his strength also on little statues that were placed into the tombs, like this for Tutankhamun. This is showing Tut on a reed boat with his one leg forward, holding up a spear. And a lot of people think this is a statue just of him hunting. No, there's a symbolic side to it. This is showing Tut basically overcoming chaos in Egypt, killing the enemy of Egypt. And because this was in gold, in a statue inside his tomb, this was also a message to the gods to show how strong Tut was. And if we go then forward to Edfu Temple, this is a great image that Osset took, showing Ra, or Horus, on top of a reed boat, and he is killing with a spear, one leg forward, one arm up, killing the hippo of Set, showing that he's overcoming the chaos, overcoming the enemies of Egypt, similar to the statue of Tut, similar to Ramses III, similar to Ramses II, all the way back to Pharaoh Narmer, showing the strong symbol of the pharaoh.
That is a long series of history.
Yeah.
That they continued over all of these years to show their dominance over chaos. And it's so fun then to also see these things, depicted in words throughout the papyrus of this is how you do this. And when we think about the symbolism then and put it into today's context, this would be, the Apophis or the Apep serpent is something that has to be defeated every single night. And oftentimes that can represent our own inner voice of negativity that and our own self-limitations that we have to overcome each and every time that we feel less than or not worthy or not good enough. We have to basically overcome that and kind of kill that voice inside of ourselves so that we can go out into the world and to share our gifts and to do the things we need to do and to do the things that we're being called to do. So
it's like a sportsman as well, with that image of stepping on your enemies on the shoes and things like that. You're amping yourself up as well to go out there. The mind is a very powerful thing.
Yes, it really is. And it's through these physical enactments of ritual, like the wearing of the shoes to stamping on your enemies. You can think about that if you wanted to even like write something that you wanted to do, an ambition, and put it on a piece of paper inside your shoe, so that each time you're walking in that footstep of doing that thing. So, this is a magical practice that has been used for thousands of years. So I
Exactly.
hope that you have all enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Curtis, for sharing all of your slides and your wisdom with us.
Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed it, and I hope you all learned something about why we see these pharaohs all standing with their arms up.
Yes, there's lots of reasons why behind all of that. So, thank you so much for joining us. There will be links to all of Curtis's offerings and some of his videos that he has on his own YouTube channel that you should make sure that you subscribe to as well. We each have our Patreons where we offer special behind the scenes and special offerings to our patrons each and every month. And so make sure that you sign up for those, but all the links to everything is going to be down below. So thank you once again, Curtis, for joining me.
Thank you, Osset, and thank you to everyone who watches Osset's videos. I hope you watch the other ones as well. She shares some very interesting information.
Oh, thank you so much. So we're going to cut out for now and stay tuned for more in this series of symbology and magic in ancient Egypt. And until next time, may you enjoy everything about today.
Bye.